from Jimmy Garoppolo, getting the nickname porn star Jimmy.
It's Jimmy's life, and you sort of let him live his life the way he chooses.
After dating multiple adult film stars, to Vernon Davis being in a 15-year relationship with an adult film star. In this video, we're breaking down the NFL players who got involved with adult film stars, and some of these pairings are downright unbelievable. Hines Ward and Lisa Ann. Ward, the beloved Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver who had become synonymous with tough, over-the-middle catches and devastating blocks, found himself navigating single life following his divorce in 2008. On the other hand, Lisa Ann, already a well-established name in adult entertainment, had built her career on both her performances and her business acumen. By 2008, she was at the height of her fame, having recently gained mainstream attention for her political satire work. It was during this period that she and Ward's paths crossed, leading to what would become one of the most discreet celebrity relationships in recent memory. The confirmation of their relationship came not through paparazzi photos or social media announcements, but through industry insiders who spotted them together at an adult film company Christmas party. The setting might seem unusual for an NFL star, but for Ward, who was exploring life beyond football and his recent divorce, it represented a departure from his usual social circles. What made their relationship particularly intriguing was how it reflected Ward's character off the field. Known throughout his career as a player who was both physically tough and intellectually sharp, Ward approached this relationship with the same discretion he brought to his professional life. Multiple sources confirmed their involvement, though it remained intentionally low-key and short-lived. The relationship, which lasted from late 2008 into early 2009, never became a source of major controversy, largely because both parties seemed to understand the delicate nature of their situation. Ward was still very much in the public eye as a Steelers star, while Lisa Ann was navigating her own career in an industry that, despite its popularity, remained taboo in mainstream society. While Ward's relationship remained refreshingly scandal-free, not all NFL players would be so fortunate in managing the complexities of dating within the adult entertainment world. Tanner Jackson and Gemini. The relationship between Jackson and Gemini began in early 2010, during what would prove to be a tumultuous period in the athlete's career. Jackson was facing mounting pressure both on and off the field, with his NFL career hanging in the balance due to repeated violations of the league's substance abuse policy. It was during this vulnerable time that he connected with Gemini, whose real name is Desiree Sanford, an adult film actress who was establishing herself in the industry. Unlike brief flings or casual encounters, Jackson and Gemini's relationship quickly evolved into something more substantial when she became pregnant during the summer of 2010. This development transformed what might have been a private romantic relationship into a very public matter, with long-term consequences for both parties. Jackson's response to the pregnancy news demonstrated a level of maturity and commitment that seemed to contradict his struggles with substance abuse. He publicly stated his intention to make the relationship work for the sake of their unborn child, a declaration that suggested he was ready to embrace fatherhood despite the challenges he was facing in his professional life. However, the fairy tale narrative began to unravel as Jackson's NFL career continued its downward spiral. His repeated suspensions for substance abuse violations not only affected his earning potential, but also strained his relationship with Gemini. The situation reached a breaking point in 2012 when Jackson reportedly stopped paying child support for their child. This financial abandonment forced Gemini, now known outside the industry as Desiree Sanford, to make a difficult decision: return to adult film work to support herself and their child. Her return to the industry she had stepped away from during their relationship highlighted the real-world consequences of Jackson's personal and professional failure. Jackson's story serves as a cautionary tale, but for some players, the intersection of professional football and adult entertainment would prove far more publicly explosive. Gronkowski and BB Jones. The story begins in October 2011, when Gronkowski, then a rising star with the New England Patriots, was visiting Arizona, where he had attended the University of Arizona. The 22-year-old tight end was already making waves in the NFL with his combination of size, athleticism, and party-loving personality that endeared him to fans and teammates alike. It was during this Arizona trip that he encountered BB Jones, whose real name is Brittany Beth, through mutual friends who had connections to his college football days. Jones, who was at the height of her adult film career, later described their initial meeting as casual and friendly, emphasizing that Gronkowski was a gentleman during their first encounter. What might have remained a private, brief encounter between two young adults became a public relations nightmare when Jones decided to document their time together with photographs. The photos that would eventually surface showed Jones posing with a shirtless Gronkowski, images that immediately sparked speculation about the nature of their relationship. When these photos hit social media, they created an immediate sensation that reverberated through sports media, fan forums, and mainstream entertainment coverage. The public reaction was swift and intense. Gronkowski Gronkowski found himself facing criticism from fans, media commentators, and potentially team officials who were concerned about the image implications of their star player being photographed with an adult film actress. The controversy forced the young player to navigate uncharted territory in terms of public relations and personal reputation management. The situation escalated when Gronkowski felt compelled to issue a public apology for the photographs, a move that many observers felt was unnecessary, but which demonstrated the intense pressure he was under. The apology itself became controversial, with some arguing that he had nothing to apologize for, and others suggesting that the association was unprofessional for an NFL player. Perhaps the most surreal chapter in this saga came in 2013, when Gronkowski received a $3.75 million offer to appear in an adult film with Jones. The offer, which matched his base salary at the time, was quickly declined, but it demonstrated how the brief encounter had taken on a life of its own in popular culture. Jones, who later retired from adult films and now goes by her real name Brittany Macklin, has continued to reference their encounter in interviews over the years, keeping the story alive in the public consciousness long after the actual relationship had ended. Her willingness to discuss their time together has ensured that this brief encounter remains one of the most well-documented relationships between an NFL player and an adult film star. Though Gronkowski eventually moved past the controversy, other players would find that social media made it impossible to keep such relationships private. Rashad, Butler, and Maya G. The romance began in 2011 when Butler and Maya G started what can only be described as a very public flirtation on Twitter. Unlike the discreet encounters or private relationships that characterized earlier generations of celebrity romances, Butler and Maya G seemed to embrace the public nature of their courtship, using social media platforms as the primary means of expressing their affection and commitment to one another. Their relationship became Facebook official when both parties updated their relationship status to reflect their romantic involvement, a digital milestone that carried significant weight in the social media landscape of 2011. This public declaration represented a level of commitment and transparency that was unusual for relationships between professional athletes and adult entertainment stars, who typically preferred to keep such associations private. What made the Butler-Maya G relationship particularly interesting was how it reflected the changing nature of celebrity relationships in the digital age. The couple openly acknowledged their romance on various social media platforms, with Butler seemingly unconcerned about potential professional repercussions. This openness suggested either a remarkable level of confidence in his career security or a generational shift in attitudes towards such relationships. The relationship appeared to be progressing smoothly throughout 2011, with both parties using their social media presence to document their courtship and express their feelings for one another. However, like many relationships that play out in the public eye, the Butler-Maya G romance eventually faced challenges that would prove difficult to overcome. In 2012, reports began to surface suggesting that their relationship was experiencing difficulties, with rumors of infidelity creating tension between the couple. The end of their relationship appears to have been as public as its beginning, with both parties eventually removing references to their romantic involvement from their social media profiles. No specific end date was reported, but post-2012 reports of their relationship ceased, indicating that the romance had run its course. Butler's embrace of social media transparency was just a preview of how the digital age would make celebrity relationships increasingly difficult to manage discreetly. Jimmy Garoppolo and Kiara Mia. Jimmy Garoppolo's romantic entanglements with adult film stars represent perhaps the most extensively documented and controversial chapter in any NFL quarterback's personal life. The most publicized of these relationships began in July 2018, when Garoppolo was photographed on a dinner date with Kiara Mia at Ava Restaurant in Beverly Hills. The images, captured by TMZ photographers, showed the 26-year-old quarterback and the 41-year-old adult film star walking arm in arm into the upscale establishment, immediately sparking speculation about the nature of their relationship. What followed was a level of media coverage typically reserved for A-list Hollywood couples, with outlets across the country picking up the story and analyzing every detail of their public outing. The age difference between the couple, 15 years, became a particular point of fascination for commentators and fans alike. Kiara Mia later confirmed that their date had been genuine and that Garoppolo had sent her flowers following their dinner. She described their interaction as romantic and suggested that they had continued communicating via text messages following their Beverly Hills encounter. This confirmation transformed what might have been dismissed as a publicity stunt into a verified romantic relationship, however brief. The fallout from the Kiara-Mia date was swift and significant, with PR experts warning that the association could cost Garoppolo lucrative endorsement deals. The quarterback found himself defending his personal choices in press conferences and interviews, eventually describing the entire experience as a learning experience that had taught taught him about the realities of life in the public eye. The controversy intensified when media personality Britt McHenry publicly criticized Garoppolo's choice of dating partners, calling his association with adult film stars unprofessional. Her comments sparked a broader debate about double standards and how male and female celebrities are judged for their romantic choices. But the Kiara-Mia relationship was apparently just the tip of the iceberg. ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith later revealed that Garoppolo had a history of dating multiple adult film stars, describing the quarterback's romantic preferences as part of a pattern rather than an isolated incident. Smith's comments, made during a 2023 broadcast, suggested that Garoppolo's sultry history with women in the adult entertainment industry was well known within NFL circles. Among the other adult film stars, reportedly linked to Garoppolo was Rashad, though details of their encounter were less publicly documented than his relationship with Kiara-Mia. Garoppolo's highly publicized dating life would pale in comparison to the pandemic-era controversies that would engulf other NFL stars. Roquan Smith and Abella Danger. The relationship between Roquan Smith and Abella Danger unfolded during one of the most challenging periods in recent American history, the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. The story broke in May 2020 when Smith posted Instagram photos and videos of himself partying on a boat with several women, including Abella Danger. The timing of this boat party was particularly problematic as it occurred during strict social distancing guidelines that were in place across the United States to combat the spread of coronavirus. Perhaps most provocatively, the content showed Smith having alcohol poured directly into his mouth by one of the women while Abella Danger was apparently driving the boat. The public reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative. Critics described Smith's behavior as utterly repulsive and argued that his actions were putting the entire NFL season at risk. The timing was particularly sensitive, as professional sports leagues were struggling to convince skeptical public health officials that they could operate safely during the pandemic. The controversy intensified when observers noted that Smith had tagged Abella Danger in his Instagram posts, effectively confirming their association and sparking dating rumors. The decision to publicly tag an adult film star during a pandemic rule-breaking incident demonstrated a level of poor judgment that extended beyond simple health protocol violations. Recognizing the severity of the backlash, Smith eventually deleted the controversial posts from his social media accounts. However, the damage to his reputation had already been done, with screenshots and recordings of the original content continuing to circulate across various platforms. Smith's poor timing during the pandemic was unfortunate, but some players would find their relationships leading to even more personal and professional destruction. Antonio Brown and Tiana Trump. The relationship began in September 2020 when Brown and Trump met at his personal gym. At this point in his career, Brown had already burned bridges with multiple NFL teams and was attempting to rebuild his professional life while dealing with various legal and personal challenges. Trump, a well-established adult film performer, was at the height of her career and actively building her brand across various platforms. Trump was remarkably open about their relationship, publicly discussing their encounters and the nature of their connection. Her willingness to speak candidly about their time together provided unprecedented insight into the reality of relationships between NFL players and adult film stars, though it also contributed to the controversy surrounding their association. The situation became even more complicated when intimate content featuring both Brown and Trump allegedly appeared on OnlyFans, the subscription-based platform that had become increasingly popular during the pandemic. This leaked material created a media sensation and sparked widespread discussion about privacy, consent, and the commodification of intimate relationships. Perhaps most damaging to Brown's reputation was his eventual admission that he had been seeing Trump while involved with another partner. This confession, made during a 2025 interview, transformed what might have been viewed as a consensual adult relationship into a story of infidelity and deception that further damaged his public image. The relationship officially ended in January 2021, though the fallout continued long afterward. Brown's admission of infidelity and the continued circulation of alleged intimate content ensured that this brief encounter would have lasting consequences for his reputation and personal life. Brown's admission of infidelity marked a new low in athlete-adult star relationships, though some connections would span decades rather than months. Greg Hardy and Heather Clem. Hardy and Clem were confirmed to have dated during the mid-2010s, with their relationship verified through public appearances and confirmation from mutual acquaintances. Heather Clem brought her own complicated history to the relationship. She was already known to the public through her involvement in a highly publicized scandal involving a leaked intimate video with professional wrestler Hulk Hogan. This previous controversy had made Clem a recognizable figure in entertainment gossip circles, though her relationship with Hardy represented a separate chapter in her personal life. The fact that Hardy and Clem's relationship remained relatively private is somewhat surprising given Hardy's own controversial reputation in the NFL. The defensive end had faced serious legal challenges related to domestic violence allegations, making him one of the more polarizing figures in professional football during his active career. One might have expected that any romantic relationship involving Hardy would attract significant media attention, but his connection to Clem appears to have flown under the radar. The relationship was described as short-lived, with no specific dates or further reports available about its progression or conclusion. This lack of detailed documentation suggests that both parties preferred to keep their association private, or that the relationship was indeed brief enough to avoid sustained media coverage. Hardy's brief and private encounter stands in stark contrast to relationships that would span decades and produce lasting family bonds. Vernon Davis and Janelle Horn. The relationship between Vernon Davis and Janelle Horn represents the longest and most complex romantic entanglement, spanning approximately 15 years and producing 3 children before ending in a spectacular public scandal that played out across social media platforms. Davis, the talented tight end who starred for the San Francisco 49 ERs, and Horn navigated the challenges of a long-term relationship that included Horn's transition into adult content creation during their time together. The relationship began around 2001, when both Davis and Horn were young adults building their respective careers. Davis was establishing himself as one of the NFL's premier tight ends, known for his speed, athleticism, and emotional intensity on the field. Horn, meanwhile, would eventually transition into adult content creation, though the exact timing of this career move in relation to their relationship timeline remains unclear. What distinguished the Davis-Horn relationship from the brief encounters and casual flings that characterize most NFL player-adult film star connections was its longevity and the serious commitment both parties demonstrated. Over their 15-year relationship, they welcomed 3 children together, creating a family unit that suggested a level of stability and commitment rare among celebrity relationships involving adult entertainment professionals. Davis confirmed the relationship and his commitment to Horn in various interviews over the years, presenting their partnership as a serious long-term relationship rather than a casual association. This public acknowledgement was significant, as many NFL players in similar situations choose to keep such relationships private to avoid potential professional or personal complications. However, the fairy tale narrative came crashing down in May 2016 when the relationship ended in one of the most public and humiliating breakups in recent celebrity history. Horn took to Instagram to publicly accuse Davis of infidelity, posting a scathing message that detailed his alleged affair with a 20-year-old woman. Her post, which has since been deleted, painted a picture of betrayal and heartbreak that resonated with followers and sparked widespread media coverage. When you give a man your all, 15 yards, 3 kids, and you sacrifice your life, and then he cheats on you with a 20-year-old child and lies on you, Horn wrote in her explosive Instagram post. The raw emotion and specific details in her message suggested genuine pain and betrayal, rather than a publicity stunt or attention-seeking behavior. The controversy was particularly damaging for Davis because it contradicted the family man image he had cultivated throughout his career. The breakup had lasting implications for both parties, with Davis and Horn continuing to co-parent their 3 children while navigating the aftermath of their very public split. Davis's 15-year relationship proves that some connections transcend casual encounters, though not all would survive the pressures of public scrutiny. Justin Brent and Lisa Ann. Brent, a Notre Dame freshman wide receiver with NFL dreams, found himself at the center of a media storm when his brief romantic encounter with the adult film legend became public knowledge during his college career. The story began in October 2014 when the 19-year-old Brent flew to New York City during fall break and attended a Knicks-Wizards preseason game with Lisa Ann, who was 42 at the time. The 23-year age gap between them immediately became a focal point of media coverage, with observers expressing fascination and concern about the unlikely pairing of a college freshman and an established adult film star. The photographs from their Knicks game date were captured and widely circulated, creating an immediate sensation that reverberated through college sports media and mainstream entertainment coverage. The images showed the fully clothed pair enjoying the basketball game together, but the scandal wasn't about what they were doing. It was about who they were and what their association represented. Lisa Ann later confirmed the relationship in a Vlad TV interview, describing their encounter matter-of-factly and noting that Brent had received a standing ovation from his peers when he returned to Notre Dame. Her casual attitude toward the age difference and the media attention demonstrated the confidence that came with her years of experience in the public eye. contrasting sharply with Brent's more vulnerable position as a college athlete. The relationship created immediate ethical questions about college athletics, age differences, and the intersection of amateur sports with adult entertainment. ESPN reporter Darren Ravel was among those who brought significant attention to the story, essentially snitching on Brent, according to some observers. This media coverage transformed what might have been a private encounter into a very public controversy that followed Brent throughout his college career. The scandal-free nature of their actual interaction, they were photographed fully clothed at a sporting event, highlighted how the controversy was more about perception and societal taboos than any inappropriate behavior. The fact that both individuals were consenting adults seemed to get lost in the broader discussion about whether such associations were appropriate for college athletes. Lisa Ann's response to critics was characteristically direct. She didn't give a damn what anyone thought about their relationship, emphasizing that both she and Brent were adults, capable of making their own decisions. Her defensive stance highlighted the double standards often applied to relationships involving adult entertainment professionals, particularly when those relationships cross into mainstream celebrity culture. The attention surrounding the relationship appears to have been more challenging for Brent than for Lisa Ann. As a college athlete with NFL aspirations, he found himself having to navigate questions about his personal life that had nothing to do with his football abilities. The story followed him throughout his college career and likely influenced how coaches, teammates, and NFL scouts viewed him as a person and potential professional athlete. The relationship was short-lived, ending soon after the public attention began. Brent quickly moved on to another relationship, this time with internet model Elka the Stallion, suggesting that his encounter with Lisa Ann was indeed brief rather than a serious romantic commitment. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.